When I was 7 years old, my mother died and she left me with nothing but a battered cookbook filled with recipes and a single pearl earring. It was all she had to leave me. But maybe it was for the best, because I do know if I would have wanted anything more. I grew up fast, and by age 16 I was working 3 jobs just to get by. I hated being poor. It made me feel powerless. If only I could find a way to make a lot of money, then I would be able to take care of myself. And one day, while browsing the local classifieds, I saw an ad placed by an elderly woman looking for a live-in maid. She mentioned something about the position being ideal for someone with culinary skills. Something inside me snapped. Culinary skills, I thought. That's what I have. This is my chance. The interview went well, and I started the job the next day. It was a big house with long hallways, and no one else seemed to be living there apart from the old woman. Mrs. Delacroix, the lady of the house, was kind and welcoming. She showed me around and explained what my duties would be. Just keep the house clean, cook me meals, and don't touch anything upstairs. I wasn't sure why she put such an emphasis on that last instruction, but I didn't question it. We talked about her family. She had a son named Jasper who lived somewhere far away and came to visit only rarely. She missed him a lot and often looked sad. Mrs. Delacroix also told me about her late husband, who apparently loved cooking almost as much as she did. He had passed away a few years prior, and she still missed him terribly. There was a sadness about her that made me uncomfortable. It was like a thick fog that pervaded the house. She led me to the kitchen and pulled out one of the drawers. Inside was an engraved silver letter opener. "This is for you," she said. "You may not need it now, but you will." I felt awkward accepting the gift, but I knew it was important to her. So I thanked her profusely and promised to take good care of it. Then she left me alone to settle in. That night, I woke up to the sound of screams. They echoed through the house and seemed to come from upstairs. I could unhelp but feel a sense of dread as I tried to ignore them and go back to sleep, but they continued, growing louder and more intense, until I simply couldn't take it anymore. I got out of bed and hesitantly started to walk toward the stairs. As I climbed the steps, the screams abruptly stopped. Maybe it was just a dream, I thought, relieved but still shaken. When I got to the top of the stairs, I noticed a door slightly ajar at the end of the hallway. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. It led to a small, dusty room with cobwebs hanging from the corners. In the center was a wardrobe with an oval mirror hanging above it. The screaming must have come from downstairs, I told myself, starting to close the door. But then I noticed the wardrobe. It was intricately carved and adorned with silver knobs. I couldn't help but feel drawn to it. As I reached out to touch one of the knobs, a gust of wind suddenly slammed the wardrobe door open, knocking me off balance. Startled, I stumbled backward and accidentally knocked over a nearby table. The noise echoed in the silent room. That's when I heard footsteps. Footsteps coming up the stairs. I quickly hid under the wardrobe, trying to muffle my breathing. Mrs. Delacroix appeared at the top of the stairs and called out, "Is someone there?" Her voice sounded strained and worried. I held my breath, hoping she wouldn't notice my presence. "Just the wind," she said to herself. And after making sure the coast was clear, she quietly descended the stairs. Once she was gone, I cautiously emerged from my hiding spot and slowly opened the wardrobe. Inside was a long staircase, spiraling upward into darkness. What was this place? Why had Mrs. Delacroix forbidden me from going upstairs? Was she hiding something? Over the next few days, I tried to shake off the incident, but I couldn't stop thinking about the secret room and the mysterious wardrobe. It became a constant source of worry, making it hard for me to concentrate on my work. Mrs. Delacroix, sensing my unease, called me into her room one evening and asked what was wrong. I hesitated, torn between my loyalty to her and my curiosity. But ultimately, I decided to confide in her. I told her about the strange room and the wardrobe, admitting that I had been unable to focus because of my fear and confusion. She listened patiently, her eyes downcast. When I finished speaking, she remained silent for a moment before finally responding.
Ow.
She told me that the house had a history, one that she hadn't fully understood until recently. She confessed that she had kept secrets from me to protect her and her son, but now it was time for me to know the truth. She led me to the same room where I had found the wardrobe and began to explain. She told me that the house was built by her late husband's father, who had made his fortune in international trade. However, his wealth had come at a cost, as he had made a deal with a sinister entity known only as the Impeccable One in exchange for his success. Over the years, the entity had demanded a heavy toll from her family, taking away their loved ones and causing them great misfortune. "I didn't want you to get involved in our problems," she said, her voice trembling. "But I see now that it's too late. You've already touched the wardrobe, which means you're bound to the house just like us. You were meant to be the new sacrifice." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Was I trapped in some kind of curse? Mrs. Delacroix explained that the only way to break the curse was to retrieve a single white feather from the Impeccable One's lair at the top of the beanstalk and bring it back to the house. The feather held immense power and would sever the Impeccable One's hold over us once planted in the ground. But how could I possibly reach the top of the beanstalk without any special abilities or training? I felt a surge of anger. How could she send me into such a dangerous situation without considering my safety? But I quickly pushed the thought aside. I knew I couldn't afford to be selfish. Not only was I in danger, but so was Mrs. Delacroix and her son. I had to do this for them. Taking a deep breath, I asked Mrs. Delacroix if she had ever been to the top of the beanstalk, and if so, could she describe what it looked like? She shook her head, admitting that she had never been there. The only person who knew the way was her son, but he was away and wouldn't be returning for months. Desperation surged through me. I couldn't wait for Jasper. I had to act now. Mrs. Delacroix seemed to read my mind. She handed me the silver letter opener, which I realized was actually a dagger with a very sharp blade. "Be careful," she warned. "The Impeccable One is cunning and powerful. Trust no one and beware of false promises." With that, she led me back to the secret room and helped me climb into the wardrobe. The familiar gust of wind slammed the door shut behind me, plunging me into darkness. But before panic had set in, I felt a soft light enveloping me, lifting me higher and higher. It was as if I were floating on air. Suddenly, the wardrobe burst open and I found myself standing on a fluffy cloud. Below me stretched an endless expanse of golden wheat fields. I couldn't believe my eyes. This was the beanstalk, but how could something so ordinary look so extraordinary? Just then, a gruff voice startled me. "So you're the new sacrifice." Turning around, I saw a gnarled tree-like creature with rough bark-like skin and branches for arms. Its face was twisted into a cruel smile, revealing sharp teeth like broken twigs. "Don't move," it rasped. "Your blood will nourish my branches and sustain my roots." Fear threatened to overwhelm me, but I remembered Mrs. Delacroix's words. I had to stay calm and trust no one. I managed to stammer out, "Wait, I'm not here to be sacrificed. I'm here to retrieve a white feather from the Impeccable One." The creature let out a harsh laugh. "You seek the Impeccable One?" it echoed. "Foolish child, you are already in his domain. But if you wish to see him, you must first pass through the labyrinth of whispers and emerge unscathed." Before I could respond, the creature vanished, leaving me alone on the cloud. The labyrinth of whispers. I had no idea what lay ahead, but I knew I had to find that white feather. The fate of Mrs. Delacroix and her son depended on me. With a determined nod, I started my journey through the whispering fields, each step bringing me closer to the heart of the Impeccable One's lair.